Hi friends, happy Monday. Oh, it's the last Monday of February. Hard to believe, but you know, that just means spring is that much closer. Anyway, I'm Lisa. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. And if you are a return viewer, thanks for coming back. If you're new, I really appreciate that you're checking it out, and I hope you will find something here that resonates with you and that you enjoy. So let's see, it's a very rainy, kind of drizzly gray Monday, as you can probably see out the windows, as well as the window reflection and our blue tarp that is covering some of our firewood over there. Very scenic. But anyway, yeah, it is kind of just ick, but it's a nice day for talking to you guys. And it's a Monday. Monday is my favorite day of the week. I love Mondays. I know I'm weird. But yeah, I feel like it's the day that is full of potential. And if I have a kick-ass Monday, it sets the tone for the week. And I feel like it's going to be a good week. So let's make it a good week, shall we? Okay, what am I going to talk to you about today? I've got some announcements. I've got some finished objects. I've got a couple of whips. And then I've got a little bit of make-along to talk about and a little bit of shop news. So there's a little bit of everything. I actually feel like I have a lot to talk about, but I'm going to try to keep it succinct so that this is not a super, super long video. First up, announcements. I want to say thank you so, so much to anyone who purchased my Fluffy Hearts pattern or one of the Fluffy Hearts yarn and pattern kits from my shop. If you watched the last video, then you know I am donating all of the profits from the pattern. So after payment, processing fees, anything left is all being donated to Canines for Warriors. And $5 from each of the yarn and pattern kits is also being donated to that same organization. Canines for Warriors is a group that provides service dogs to veterans who need them for like PTSD and other trauma related to their service. I think it's a fabulous organization. And when I did the math about a week ago, we'd raised almost $300 that I'll be able to send. I'm waiting through the end of February, so at the end of tomorrow, and then Wednesday, I'm going to do the math again and see what our February donation comes to, and I will be able to make that donation, and I'll definitely let you know how much we raised. And just so you know, if you haven't purchased either of those things but would still like to, or yeah, because you don't need to buy both. If you're buying a kit, the pattern comes with it. If you just want the pattern, you can just buy the pattern. But for as long as those the patterns will stay available. I'm not planning to take them down, but I will always be donating the pattern profits to that organization. And as long as I have the kits available, I will continue to donate that $5 from each of the kits. So that's ongoing. And I plan to just make monthly donations based on those things. So again, thank you so much if you've already purchased those. I posted a video last week. It wasn't a regular video. It was a topical video on the concept of finished versus perfect. So if you did not see that, you might want to check that out because it does feature a couple of projects that I am going to show you briefly here, but I'm not going to go into great depth because I did talk about them rather at length in that video. It was a short video. It was only like 10-15 minutes, but I don't want to repeat the same information. So you could check that out if you'd like to. I also put up a members video over the weekend. That is one of the perks. If you're a member here of the channel, you get a couple bonus videos every month. You sometimes get, I offer like discounts to the shop just for my members, things like that. So if you're interested in finding out more about being a channel member here on YouTube, you can find that information below as well. So, what else? Oh, the last thing I'll tell you before we get into everything else is what I'm wearing. This is my vamping shawl, which I made last year. The pattern is by Jennifer Dessau, and it's an end-to-end. Oh, okay. Hang on. Yeah, kind of I won't talk while I hold it up. It's really long though. So I made this out of a collection of just leftovers and minis that I had put together for a project, and obviously like purples and, oh, I think I just showed you the wrong side of it. I'm sorry. Here, let's do the right side. Not that it matters. It's still pretty both ways. Purples and blues. Yeah, so anyway, it's just chilly enough in here today that it feels really nice. And that's generally the way I wear it. I just sort of wrap it around my neck like that. So anyway, that is what I am wearing. Okay, let's start with finished objects. Four. I have four of them. Okay, the first two are the ones that were featured in the finished versus perfect video. So I'm not going to go into very much detail at all about the one. I will put a picture of it in here though. And it was just a plain vanilla hat that I knit for my husband for his Valentine's Day present. I dyed the yarn. It was a half skein each of soft black and deep red because I decided that he needed a hat that coordinated with his new Massey Ferguson tractor that he bought recently. I know he does not care that he has a hat that matches his tractor. He has not worn it yet either. However, I enjoyed making it for him, and I know he'll wear it eventually. That was the project from that video that I used as my perfect example. I didn't make any mistakes in the hat. It was a very simple hat to make, but it was also perfect for him because I knit it exactly the way I know he likes his hats to fit. That was the main thing. So that is my one finished object. Made it out of my Bonafide base, my DK weight base. The next one that I talked about in that video is this, which is, it started out being the Granny Stripes Cardi, and it has obviously finished being the Granny Stripes open fronted vest. And this is the one that was the better finish than perfect, because it was on the needles for quite some time. The pattern that I used for this loosely at this point is a Good Vintage Cardi by Fran Morgan. It had been on the hook as crochet pattern since June of 2020. I hit a bunch of snags along the way. I'm not going to go into all the details, but it is finished now and wearable. Matter of fact, I wore it when we went out the other night, and it's so comfortable. The more I wear it, here, I'll put it on just to show you real quick. The more I wear it and experience it, the more I really, really like it. And I'm glad that it ended the way it did as opposed to a cardigan, because I'm honestly not 100% sure that I would have liked having these stripes go the whole way across my body, including the sleeves. I feel like that might have been a bit much. So I really like it this way. So here it is. I haven't taken nice, pretty finished object pictures yet, but basically I finished it by doing this about 2-inch wide single crochet button, not a button band, front band the whole way around from one front corner around to the other. It fits so nice and it's really comfy. For the sleeve openings, I just picked up stitches the whole way around and then did one round of single crochet. I did incorporate some decreases just right here across the top of each armhole to try and mitigate those shoulder seams pointing straight out, because that's not attractive. And it did a really good job. Matter of fact, the more I wear it, the more relaxed it's getting, and it's just settling down. I like it with this sweater, which I already had in my wardrobe. It goes pretty well with this. But it'll also be great as we get into a little bit warmer spring weather. I can wear a t-shirt or probably even a tank top under it. It is surprisingly warm for being A, crochet that has all these holes, and B, for not being a full cardigan. Like, I was really getting super warm with it on the other night when we went out. But I kind of like that. I mean, it's perfect. For what it ended up being, it is perfect. So I probably need to amend my assertion from that finished versus perfect video that even though it did not end up being perfect according to the pattern that I had started out using with it, it is definitely, it's perfect for what it ended up being, and I'm really, really happy with it. So, and it seems to be growing on me the longer I wear it. So that's that. This was knit out of my Mountain Tweed BFL. The neutral color is definitely the Mountain Tweed BFL. The minis are probably a combination of Mountain Tweed BFL and Mountain Tweed Merino fingering, because I didn't used to be able to get the tweed minis already wound into minis. I had to just wind them myself from the larger skeins. But then at some point they did start carrying the tweed minis, and so I probably have a mixture of both of those in this sweater. But it looks the same. You can't really tell the fiber content difference. So I'm going to take this off now because, like I said, it is surprisingly warm. I don't even have the heat on out here that much, but I'm going to take this off. I think I'm going to leave the shawl off too, because I am literally just starting to get a little sweaty. We don't need that. But I am going to drink a little bit more of my tea. Okay, so those are my first two finished objects that I have to show you. The third one is my weaving project that I've had on the go for a little while now, and I finally finished it, and I'm so happy with it. The only thing that isn't finished with it is the fringe, because I haven't decided what I'm going to do with the fringe yet. But otherwise, it's done. So this is the blue patchwork scarf that I made using a clasped weft technique. So it's where you're using two different yarns in the same rows, and then you kind of wrap them like this and then take them back. And so you essentially end up with two strands for each row of the weaving, each pick, I guess. And you can do different shapes that way. I really did this pretty randomly on purpose. Just in case you think, oh, she didn't know what she was doing. No, I meant for it to look this way. So I was going for like a patchwork kind of look. So, you know, like if you take little scraps of fabric and you just kind of sew them together to make one of those patchworky pieces of fabric, that was the sort of look I was going for. These were all leftover blue yarns that I had in my stash. And I used a variety of weights of yarn as well. I warped it with bounce, so that's a fingering weight. And then the weft was a combination of my Traveler Sport Weight, Bonafide DK, and I think one of the colors was also Cozy, which is a worsted weight. Like this dark gray blue here. This one I'm pretty sure was Cozy. So it's fun because it does have that variation in weights of yarn in it, which adds to the texture. And then you've also got the clasped weft, which also adds to texture, because I'm not sure if you can see. There's sort of like very subtle bumps right there where the two yarns join, because they're doing that little hook together kind of thing. So it's slightly risen there. I don't know. I just love it. And then I love having that lighter colored warp running through all of it. And it just gives it such a unique look. So I am really, really happy with how this turned out. I will put this on real quick here too, just to give you an idea of length. It's not as long as I would ordinarily make a scarf, but I was working with limited yarn, so I had to make do with what I had. Okay, I'm not putting this on super neatly apparently, but you'll be able to get the idea. So it's obviously not a scarf that you would be able to wrap around your neck twice. But if you like to wear it like this, that's really messy, but you get the idea. Like putting it up here and then being able to do one wrap. Can I do this better on the fly? I'm not sure that I can. I'm telling you this because I'm going to be putting this in my shop. I'm finally to that point where I want to start selling some of my woven items, and this is going to be the first one to go up there. Oh, there we go. So if you're a smaller person, like shorter, this would be a good scarf for you. If you wanted to give it to a younger person, like probably not a very small person, because I don't think you're supposed to put scarves on small children because there's the whole, kind of risk there. But you know what I mean. So I would say, I haven't measured it. I have to measure it before I list it, but it's probably about 5 feet long, a little over 5 feet maybe. but thereabouts. So it's good if you just like to have a single wrap, have it here. I personally don't like things to be super long where you have tails hanging down. I don't mind having them long enough to wrap twice, but this is just a single wrap kind of scarf. And like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with the fringe. I want to do something with it because sometimes fringe like this can just get really worn. My mom bought me a fringe twister for Christmas and I haven't used it yet, and I didn't want to just try it out on this first, so I need to go find one of my old just kind of scrappy weaving things that I did at one point and practice on that. And I think that's what I'll do. I'll probably do twisted fringe on this, but we'll see. Yeah, so I'm gonna put that in the shop soon. I've got fuzzies going through the air here. I don't know if you can see them. But anyway, I'm really happy with it. I think it's just, I don't know. I'm just happy with it. I guess that's all I can say about it. I'm happy with how it turned out. I love the colors. I love the patterning effect that I was able to achieve. And hopefully I love whatever I end up doing with the fringe. And more importantly, hopefully one of you or someone else who visits my shop will also love it, because again, it will be for sale sometime in the not too distant future. I can't promise when, but it will be up in the shop eventually. Okay, so that's the third one. The last finished object that I have is actually something that you didn't even see started. In fact, I don't even think you saw the yarn. This was my February personal stash yarn challenge project. I'll put a picture of what the yarn looked like in here. This was a set of minis from Zauberball, so, or Shopwool Zauberperlen is what this is called. So you usually know what Zauberballs look like. They're like this little marley, crazy stripy things. Which I don't know that I've ever knit with one of those. I have one in my stash, but I've never made anything from them. But I found this set, and then I also got another one in blues. Same thing, the black to the blue gradient. And Emma claimed that one when I bought it. So actually I think she picked that one out and I picked out the pink. Anyway, so it's a set of 7 minis. It's a total of a full skein of yarn. So they're probably a little less than 20 grams each, obviously. But when I bought them, I thought, oh, this would make really cool socks. But no, they won't, because there is no nylon in them. And it is not superwash. Yeah, it's not superwash. It says 100% Sherwool. It says merino fine, 100% virgin wool. But I don't know what Sherwool means. Does that mean superwash? I don't know. I need to look it up, but there's nothing in here in English to explain that. So anyway, I was going by the assumption that this is not superwash, so I didn't want to make socks out of it. I originally thought I would make a muscle bra hat. I'm the only person in the world who's probably not made one. I thought this might be my opportunity, and I was going to play with the minis and do like a gradient and then back down to the other end of the gradient. But after I bought the pattern and after looking at it, I thought, you know what, I'll never wear it. I don't wear those kind of hats. They're not my thing. So I didn't want to do that. So instead I settled on another smallish shawly scarf kind of thing. And I just finished it this morning. So here it is. Let's see, which is the front. This is the front. Here it is. This is a pattern called Herald by Janina Kallio. She does have a design name too that I am totally not thinking of right at the moment. But I'll put all that information below. So anyway, here it is. I love how this turned out. Now this is obviously not blocked. I literally just got it off the needles this morning. So it's going to be a lot larger once it's blocked, because it's that open mesh lace, and I know the dimensions will be much bigger, but I just love how it looks even now, like the way the colors worked out. So what's interesting about this yarn is it's a cable plied yarn, which I've worked with cable plied yarns before, but what that means is each of these strands, so this is, I had very little left over because I basically used each little ball until I got to the point that I couldn't do another row. And honestly, in hindsight, I could have probably just picked up wherever I was with the next one because they blended together really well, but I didn't do that. So anyway, here's the strand, and I don't think you're going to be able to see this super well, but there are 6 plies, right? I think there are 6 plies in here. I have to untwist this. There are 6 plies, but each of the plies is made up of a strand that is 2 plies. So technically there are 12 tiny little strands of yarn in here. They're plied together in pairs, and then those pairs, those 6 pairs, are plied together for the final yarn. It's a fun yarn to work with. Matter of fact, my old sport weight yarn that I used to have in the shop was a cable plied yarn. I had to quit using it though, because cable plied yarns seem to retain a little extra energy. And as I was knitting with this, some of these balls, as I was pulling it off the ball, it just wanted to coil up on itself. And so you're knitting, and all of a sudden you have to like kind of straighten that yarn out. Have you ever had that happen with yarn? It's not fun. It's kind of annoying. Not all of the balls did that, but some of them did. And I have, my hunch is it's based on how they wound it off of their big cones of yarn, how it ended up. I don't know. That would be my hunch, because that's what I learned whenever I was using it, when I dyed with it. If I was doing self-striping, depending on which end of the self-striping set I started to reskein it, it would either work great or it would tangle into a just giant mess. And I ended up wasting a lot of yarn, and that's why I ended up not carrying that anymore. Because as much as I liked the base, it was too much of a hassle. It was a big pain to use for self-striping the way I do self-striping. So that's why I have a different sport weight now. Anyway, that being said, I loved everything else about the colors. The colors are beautiful. I love this bright fuchsia down through the black. And you know, it just, they keep adding. Like the next one was like 1 strand of black, 5 strands of pink, 2 strands of black, 3 pink, and so on until you got to the end and you just had the solid black. This is very splitty yarn. That was not fun. And I mainly noticed it on the rows where I was doing the lace, the mesh, where I was doing the yarn over knit 2 together. That knit 2 together, that really wanted to split on me. So I had to go slow, and I probably could have used better needles. I was using my Licca interchangeables, which weren't horrible, but they're not super sharp, and so that did also add a little bit of a complicating factor to doing those knit 2 togethers. But in general, it turned out really good, and I'm super happy with it. I can't wait to block it and see it really open up, because I think that is going to just be lovely once it's opened up like that. So anyway, I'll show it to you all finished the next time I record a regular episode. So that's my 4th finished object. I have 2 works in progress that are active works in progress. One is my combo spin, which I did get 2 more skeins plied. These I plied on my Traveler. Like I'm spinning on my Ashford Traveler, I'm doing the singles, and then these I plied also, which is why they're much smaller skeins than my first 2 were, because my first 2 I plied on my Sidekick. I'm just not enjoying working with my Sidekick. It's never been my favorite wheel. You've heard me say this a million times, but lately it's really been bothering my back. It's just not ergonomically comfortable for me. And I'm back to thinking about just selling it, because I would much rather work on my Traveler. I love that wheel so much. But anyway, I have 2 more skeins, and at this point I'm about 200 yards short on the yardage that the pattern for the DRK everyday sweater, which is what I'm spinning for, calls for the size that I'm going to make, but I'm also going to make the sweater longer. So I still have a ways to go. I probably need at least another 400 yards before I'm sure I have enough for the sweater. Obviously, I'm going to spin the rest of my combo spin until I'm done with all the fiber. But I was just saying that because I was actually toying with the idea of I could start knitting the sweater and then just continue spinning for it. That sort of feels like it's a little risky though. I don't know why. Anyway, the interesting thing about this is, it's a combo spin, so I'm just grabbing the different fibers from all the different braids that I had prepped. I did a video about that last summer. You can check that out if you're interested in how I prep for a fiber spin or a combo spin. A fiber spin. Oh. Anyway, but the whole thing is like your bobbins are there, and then when you ply, you're plying random colors together. But in this case, the one end of my both bobbins were these really light colors. So I've got a huge chunk of this that's all going to be really light. So whenever I'm knitting with this skein, I'm definitely going to need to alternate skeins because I don't want like just one big swath of this really light color. That happened on this one too, although it's not as obvious because it's this darker color right across here. That's a pretty big chunk of that too. It's just how it kind of turns out. I mean, I guess you could actively color manage your combo spins if you wanted to, but that's not the fun part of it for me. I like just having it be what it's going to be, and then I'll work with it however I have to knit what I want to knit the way I want it. But yeah, that's why they look so different, just because they're the same combination of yarns, just the order worked out differently. So anyway, that's my one active work in progress. The other one is a new weaving project that I just warped for yesterday morning and started weaving this morning. I'll show you what it looks like first, then I'll tell you about the yarn. Here it is. This is, okay, I'm going to sit the loom down. This is my 10-inch Ashford samplet rigid head loom, by the way. So I have a 24-inch rigid headed loom as well, which I don't use nearly as often, but this is good for smaller projects like cowls and scarves and things. I will put a picture in here of the balls of yarn before I wound them because it's on the warp and the rest of it's all on this stick shuttle. This is some really, really old hand spun, and this was actually my personal stash yarn challenge yarn from last September that I did not get to use, one of those 4 months that didn't get used. And so I had 2 skeins. It was probably about 400, no it wasn't, it was 340 maybe yardage wise. And of course it was not labeled, but I remembered it, and I remembered vaguely when I got it, and I knew it was old. So I did a whole bunch of research going back through really, really, really old blogs. Like I used to have a knitting blog from before I had a podcast, so we're talking a long time ago, and I finally found it when I was working on it. I was spinning this in March of 2009, and I had recorded the fact that it was fiber from River's Edge Weaving Studio, which I believe is out of Michigan. I'm not sure if they're even still functioning. I tried to Google them, and I did come up with a URL, but it didn't go anywhere. And then I also came up with a Facebook page, but there hasn't been anything new on the Facebook page since 2020. So I don't know if they're still in business or not, but that's where the fiber came from. And the one thing that I did remember about this was that it was merino and sea cell, the blend. It's super soft and super smooth. Sea cell is almost like it's a cellulose fiber. It reminds me of bamboo, the way it works up. And, when I first looked at the yarn, whenever I pulled it out of the bag last September, I thought, oh, it's okay. I wasn't super excited about it because it is one of my older spinning things. But honestly, working with it, it's pretty even. I did a pretty good job with spinning this. Now you can see some fluffier areas where there was probably a lot more of the sea cell than the merino, but it's still pretty even, and the fabric is working up pretty nicely. My goal for this this weaving project is to get a really loosely woven fabric instead of one that's densely packed. Like, you know, that other scarf, actually that blue patchwork one, I also did not pack as densely as I sometimes pack my weaving. I'm trying to get better about that because it doesn't really need to be that densely packed, I don't feel like. And I'm also using my 7.5 dent heddle so that the warp is further apart than I would ordinarily probably have this light weight of yarn. I would say that this is probably about a sport weight. That would be my estimation. Yeah, and it's working really nicely. I mean, obviously you can see through the fabric. Now, once it's off the loom and soaked and, you know, blocked, it's going to poof up a little bit and everything's going to come together. But it should still be fairly drapey, and that's what I'm going for on this. I don't know what I'll do with this one, if it's going to end up being something in the shop too or not. I'll have to wait and see when it's done. I may want to keep it. But I think, I didn't go back to look, but I think this might be one of my first weaving projects that I'm doing with Handspun. I could be completely wrong on that and just totally forgetting something, but that was one of the reasons I wanted to learn how to weave, was so that I could use Handspun, because I've got so much Handspun. So I'm really excited to be working with this and doing this one. So stay tuned for that. I'm not doing anything fancy with this one. It's just plain weave. But I love how the colors are working up, and I love the way it's looking. So far, so good. Yay. And those are my only two active whips right now. You'll notice that I do not have an active knitting whip to show you because I'm not actively knitting on anything at the moment. Am I? I think I have a sock project that's just sort of my carry around when I need something or sit at the table and knit on it. But I can't remember even which one it is at the moment. I haven't worked on it in a while. So, and I should note that my February personal stash yarn challenge project also is my entry into the monthly stash yarn of the months. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that. Carol from A Stitch in Time is running her Another Year of Stash make along, and as part of that there is a monthly stash yarn component, and so that is my entry into that. You have 2 months to finish it, so I'm actually getting it finished within February, which is pretty exciting. But that is also something that I'm taking part of, as well as in my own make along, the soy mal, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But since I'm speaking about Carol's make along, I'm going to show you what my March personal stash yarn is for my challenge. I don't know what it is because I just pulled the bag out of the bin right before I came in to record. I had my husband, like, I gave him a whole bunch of yarn and a whole bunch of bags, had him put all the yarn in different bags so that I could pull them and not know what they were. So this one, I can tell, feels like it's probably 2 skeins of yarn. 2 full skeins, but I don't know anything beyond that. So let's see if I can get the bag open. Ooh, okay. I figured it was yarn from, we took a motorcycle trip to Maine 2 summers ago, and I thought this might be one of the things of yarn I got at one of those shops, because that was a weird trip in the fact that I did get to stop at a lot of yarn shops. Usually I do not on motorcycle trips, if for no other reason than when you're on a motorcycle, there's not a lot of space to bring yarn home in large quantities. But here they are. Aren't they cool? Oh, they're so pretty. So I do not remember what the name of the shop was where I got this, but this is Mad Fuzzy Yarn. They do have an Etsy shop, apparently. MADDFUZZY. I don't know if it's still in business, but hopefully it is. Marta Madden is the dyer from Knox, Maine. So, yay. Now, these are 2 different yarns. They're both DK. This is Squish DK, which is 100% Clun Forest wool, 225 yards. And this one is Old World DK, which is 100% BFL cross wool. I'm not sure what the BFL has been crossed with because it does not specify, but that's what it is, and 275. So there's two more yards of this than this. I think this is going to be a weaving project on my larger loom. That is what I think this is going to be. When I bought it, that was what I had in mind because I bought them together. So anyway, yay. And it is a toothier wool. It's not a super, super smooth wool. But it's not like prickly to the point that I wouldn't wear it. So anyway, yeah. So I'm going to weave with this. I have to think about how I want to do that, but that's what this is going to be. So yay, that's so much fun. I'm really having fun weaving now that I'm really working through, because I have a bunch of projects, like the yarn lined up for a whole bunch of projects, and now I have one more. So that's a lot of fun. Anyway, yay, I'm so excited about that. All right, so anyway, the Stop Shooting on Yourself Mal, the Soy Mal, is the make-along that I am hosting through this whole year. And it's a very loosey-goosey guidelines kind of make-along. You are basically deciding what you want to make for your make-along year. The whole concept is that they need to be things that you really, really want to do, you know, because you want to do them, not things you feel like you should be making. Like, I should be making something for somebody. If you really want to make it, great, then that counts. But like, let's try to focus on some of the things that we really, really want to do. And that's what I'm focusing on. I really want to be working with like leftovers. That's why I'm doing a lot of these leftovery kind of projects, like that first, like this. This was a leftovers project, and that was, I think that takes me up to around 400 grams of like leftovers and mini kind of stuff. From my stash, because I'm trying to do at least 1,000 grams, and I don't think I'm gonna have any problem doing that. But anyway, so that's one of my things that I want to do this year. Another thing that I want to do this year is weave more. I want to use my personal stash yarn sets that from last year that I didn't get to use. I want to do a whole 12 of those this year. Yeah, so I feel like I'm making good progress. And finishing up whips, those are things that I want to do. So my granny stripes thing, I'm feeling really good about my progress so far this year. And a lot of these projects that I'm doing also fit into Carol's make along, her another year of stash, because, you know, whips qualify for that too. It's just a lot of fun. I'm having a great time with it. So I hope you will join in. All of the information, you can find that in the Ravelry group. You can find it in a blog post that I made on the Fiber Nymph Dye Works blog. And I also did a video about that. So I will try to remember to link that as well. And actually, I will be doing prize announcements for February in the next regular video. I know I could have just waited a couple of days to record this, but I wanted to do it today because I had time today to do it. So next video, you will get more prizes. Okay, last thing I want to talk to you about is a little bit of shop news. I did have pre-orders up in the shop last week for the 2023 Pie Day colorway, which here it is. And it's called Wild Atlantic Pie. This was inspired by the trip Bill and I took last year to the western coast of Ireland, which is also known as the Wild Atlantic Way. So this was inspired by a lot of colors that are prevalent in that west coast area, where you've got the bright sky blue, the deep Atlantic steely blue for the water, that grayish white foam, and it also is picked up in the rock formations along the coast, and the greens of the grasses in that early springtime, the bronzy colors. So cool. I did a video about this colorway too, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm describing it and I'm like, I feel like I've talked about this already, so I will try to link that as well. Here's what it looks like in the ball. I actually do not have any skeins to show you right now because I've been dyeing up the pre-orders and getting them shipped out as soon as I get them dyed and reskeined. I did a whole bunch of dyeing for the pre-orders over the weekend, but they're not reskeined yet. So anyway, I'll put a picture in here of what the skeins look like. Now the pre-orders are down, and there won't be any more of this in the shop until after I get all the pre-orders shipped out, but there will be more of this available in the shop once I get the pre-orders shipped out. But you can stay tuned for that. The best way to know when that's going up in the shop is by subscribing to my newsletter. You can do that on any page of my website, fabrynymphdyeworks.com. There's a link at the very top in the menu bar. You can scroll all the way to the bottom of any page, and there should be a little thing where you can subscribe to the newsletter. I think there maybe is even a pop-up that comes up. I don't remember. But that's where you can do that. The other thing that's going to be going in the shop this week, it's not up yet, but I dyed up a bunch of, I'm calling them serendipitous spinning sets. I do have the colors recorded, so I could technically dye them again, but on the fibers that I have them on right now, I can't redo them on the fibers because this is all of these fibers that I had. So here they are. I know you can't see super well through that bag because of the glare, but what these are sets of 5 1-ounce, they're not braids because I haven't braided them, 5-ounce pieces of fiber. We'll call them that. This color combination is dyed on Wensleydale, actually. And this is the only one on Wensleydale. So this is 5 different colors. So you're getting 5 ounces of fiber. And I'm planning on writing up a little, I don't know if I'll make it as a download or just put it in the listing, but like my intention for these is you can spin these in so many different ways. You could spin each one of these end to end and get a gradient that you could then chain ply. You could split these in half and, you know, do half and half and end up with a gradient that way where they'll overlap. You could strip each of these down and do them in the same order and then chain ply and end up with like your own self striping. Or you could strip them down and mix and match and just do them randomly the way I'm doing my combo spin and just have a mini combo spin. Or you could buy a couple sets and do a larger combo spin. Or you could buy this one and then maybe one of the other ones if you like it and mix them together and do a combo spin. There are just a lot of different options. You could just spin each one by itself however you want it and have mini skeins of these 5 colors also. Yeah. So if you buy one this week when it comes up, it may be shipped in this kind of a bag. Usually whenever where is it? Sorry, I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Usually whenever I ship fiber, it's in these poly drawstring bags. This is another one of the sets. This is on gray Shetland. I love this. And this is like some real subtle green blues and then a darker blue and then the gold. I just love this so much. I usually do it on these, but these are my bags for 4-ounce braids and 5 ounces as kind of a tight squeeze in here. So I don't really want to use these because I don't want to compress the fiber. But I also don't want to braid it. I'm really thinking about getting away from braiding my fiber because I know that does compress it. And if you don't spin it right away and then you put it in your stash, if there's any more compression, it can compromise the fiber. So I've been thinking about kind of getting away from braiding. I don't know. Do you guys as spinners, do you have a preference for how your fiber comes? Because I don't mind braiding it. I kind of enjoy braiding it. It's sort of relaxing. But I think it's nice too just to get it in this form where it's less densely stored. Anyway, I have larger drawstring bags on order. If they get here in time, then I'll be able to ship them out in those. But if not, you may just get them in a bag like this that's tied like this so that they'll be nice and fluffy. So this is the Wensleydale. It's the only one that's on my Wensleydale. That one I just showed you, the oceany kind of colors, that is gray BFL. This is another gray BFL combo with some purple and mauve and some greens and a gray in there. And then the last one is Targy, which this is the only color I have on Targy too. This is some purple and blue and another blue and then a darker silvery, dark like steel blue and then a gray. So that's those combinations. And that is pretty much everything that I've got for you this week. So I hope you are doing well. If you have questions about anything that I have talked about, please feel free to leave a comment. Or if you, leave a comment. You can always email me, lisa@fibernymphdyworks.com. And I hope that you are doing well, and I hope you are having a kick-ass Monday so that you set the tone for your week too. And until the next time, stay well, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later. Bye.